Hey, welcome everybody to podcast number 118. We got a doozy for you today. A gentleman that doesn't like to hold back when he's talking, so we're going to get some interesting points and everything. But before we get into that, the little bit of banter. Canada soccer, hey? Look at them go.
It was pretty good.
Game was way more exciting than I expected to be. I am openly not a huge soccer fan, but you know what? They took advantage of some really good set plays, and it was really exciting going down that last 5 minutes there. Canada were kind of dickheads at the end of it too, which was kind of entertaining to see. But kudos to them. It's awesome to see Canada grow so much in soccer over the last couple of years. It's great.
It was fun. I was at the game, guys, and it was an unbelievable experience. I mean, 50,000 people in the stadium. I'm not sure what the final number was, but it was just electric. I mean, the chanting going on constantly. Let's go Canada, or Canada, or and then a lot of the Mexican fans. I mean, they were right into it and cheering like nonstop. So that first goal was sensational. It was right down at the end where we were perfectly placed for the guy to have a shot. Yeah. And then the rebound to come in and get it just electrified the building. It was really cool.
Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of the game. I watched the last 25 minutes or whatever, but it was crazy the amount of pressure that Mexico put on in the last 10 minutes, right? And for Canada to hold on and hold them off was amazing to see. And as somebody that watches hockey a little bit more, there's definitely a little bit no contact is supposed to be happening, and those players were laying on the ground a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
They were all legit fouls, though. Every single one was a legit foul by both sides. They were, I mean, let's be honest.
They got to sell it. They got to sell it.
It was a heavy game, and there was a little bit of diving, just like diving into the snowbank. I mean, there was some acting going on, but you're right. They go to acting school. That's part of their
the
soccer
one that
101.
gets me is like the guy like brushes his elbow against the Canadian's face, and he sat there for like 10 minutes going like this, like am I bleeding?
Wait, he lost his eyesight. Couldn't you tell?
You know what? The one I look over when like this, when they bring out the stretcher, it was like, really?
Yeah.
You know what? You guys coming out with the stretcher, it was like, dude, like.
All of a sudden, David got up and he was fine. I can see you again, guys. Let's play.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, guys.
No, the dive into the snowbank after the goal, like that's going to be on sports highlights forever, right?
The meme of that. You just see the guy coming flying from the side. And remember, we saw the goal too, and all of a sudden, just gathering in the snow. It was like, this is going to be awesome, and the guy goes flying 7 yeah. Like,
I have to admit that a lot of them were wearing shorts with no leggings underneath or nothing. That would take some balls out there. But
I mean, they absolutely, advantage to Canada for playing in the snow, right, and playing under those conditions. I don't think that Mexico was, entirely ready for it. So it was well played by Canada on that end.
So I don't follow Canadian soccer obviously that well, but a lot of those players are probably part of the MLS, correct, Daryl?
Yeah, they'd all probably have contracts all over the place, to be honest with you. There's various leagues. I mean, obviously a guy like Alphonso Davies is probably the highest paid or highest ranked player playing for Bayern Munich. But there's definitely several guys on both teams who will be playing, contractually somewhere, wherever it's in Mexico League or in Italy or in MLS, sure. But
right. So the whole snow thing probably doesn't play a huge part because they don't all play up in the north and stuff like that. So
no, they wouldn't have played in snow for a while. I wouldn't imagine, right?
Right.
But they're middle ranked now. I mean, they're in like their mid 40s, and before they're absolutely abysmal in the late 70s and 80s now, right? So after these 2 wins, I think they'll be bumping up a little bit more.
It's kind of neat to see Canadian sports or Canadian athletes excelling in non-Canadian sports like soccer, tennis, right? Like those programs have taken leaps and bounds in the last decade. Seeing them go outside of the typical lacrosse or hockey or curling.
But I mean, we forget that soccer is the number one highest member sport in Sherwood Park, in Edmonton, in Canada. It's the number one most played sport. So it is
Well,
we should be really
it's
good
pretty
at it.
easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy also to get all those kids involved in it when literally it's just admin fees, right? There isn't a lot of technical equipment and stuff to pay for the children to play that type of sport, right? That's why you got hockey and all those expensive sports going
fairly
down,
easy.
right?
Yeah, it's easily acceptable. And guys, on my many hats that I wear, I do sit on the soccer board of directors. And there's opportunity for pathways to success through a PDP program, to adult leagues. I mean, there's professional teams even within the club level of like they could start spending a lot of money, going to camps, going to Christmas camps, going to shots and stops. I mean, the higher level you want to get to, it certainly gets expensive. There's lots of avenues, and so it's to see that Canada soccer is doing so well. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously this is kind of a bowling podcast. We should probably talk about something bowling. So one of the most recent events is Mr. Weber threw another perfect game.
Yeah.
For a gentleman that said he would never ever throw one, he threw one obviously not too long ago in St. Albert in open qualifying in the Edmonton zone. And now he's got a second one at Sherwood Park, which he absolutely despised, and it was on full display at TPC. So what do you guys have to say about it since Sherwood Bowl proprietors?
It was great. It was great to watch. I love Adam. It's funny. It's funny how bowling works sometimes. You get some things taken away from you, and you get some things given back, and it's just funny. He threw it on the weekend, but it was great. It was awesome. It was so well thrown, and I mean, he's probably the best bowler in Canada, right? So it's nice. It's nice to see him break through, get the first one a couple years ago, and throw another one now. It was awesome.
Yeah. I thought, I don't know. I find it just comical. It takes 2.5 minutes to finish the 10th frame. So I literally went for a pee break and back, and I still didn't. I caught all 3 shots.
He went pretty fast, though. I thought. I mean, we're going to talk about this later, but it did look like he actually went pretty fast in his first couple. His third one was like 97 reset buttons that he was pushing. He was having he was having a seizure on the reset button. But his first 2 looked like they were pretty quick.
Yeah, nobody's talking about how he didn't finish his shot either. He just dumped it to the right. He never held his shot, but I mean that's okay.
Yeah, he knew it was good out of the hand.
And I mean, that was the fastest I ever seen him actually move, because he never ever moves anywhere. And
he was struggling with like his left knee was all messed up, and his right shoulder. So I figured it kind of balanced him out.
He was playing it up to the crowd because you seen he gave the fist pump to Mr. Mark Daw sitting in the seat beside him. So
he shot 194 the game before, and then shot an 800 double.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. It's a podcast not about Adam, so I mean, this is enough talk about Adam. I think. I think he's gonna
two perfect games at Sherwood Bowl in a week.
8 days.
A week,
right?
Yeah.
How many more are we gonna have? When's the next one? What's the time? Are we gonna have another one?
I mean, we don't really care about Kerry because he has 3, but maybe one of us 3 should deserve one. I mean, maybe that's it.
No, as people that throw perfect games, we don't like to share. So
soul is just flowing. Yeah.
So one more before Christmas, guys. What's the record on number of perfect games at a bowling center in a calendar year?
Well, let's look at Bonnie.
Yeah, but how many? What was it?
I think it was 5.
Well, Sherwood Bowl's got 2 in 8 days, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Over 30% of the season over already. Who knows? Maybe you might see one more in the Edmonton zone by the end of the year. Not saying it's going to be at Sherwood Bowl, but I don't think you're going to see like 3 or 4 more pop off in the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I mean, most of our major like high-end bowling events in Sherwood Bowl have finished now. So Masters is done. We're not hosting the Open at all, and TPC is done. So it's going to come from league really, because we're not going to have any major like high-end bowling tournaments. So I don't see us getting too many more.
So let's put a number to it. How many more are we going to see from now until when league is done and playoffs for league is done?
I Sherwood?
I'm going to say 0.
I'm going to say 1.
I'm going to say 0.
Carrie.
Ooh, this
And
is
you can't say
bold,
the
this
same
is
thing as
bold.
anybody.
Because
So I'm forced to say too.
if I'm 11 in a row, I'll pitch on purpose just to prove a point.
Oh,
So-
shut up.
Yeah, okay.
You're a dummy. You're a dummy.
So Daryl, you're forced to say 3. That's
I
a
guess
that's a
so.
bold
Okay.
strategy, man.
I'll go 3, boys. Let's go. Yeah.
Awesome.
How about 5-pin U Pro Team League? You had some matches on the weekend there, fellas, and did some commentating, and had and then also we had YBC singles that as well, right?
Yeah. Obviously, Michaela pulled through, won her seniors division. I know you guys know a lot more about that. You're more involved with it. I don't know if you want to go through the list of winners or post a link in the comments of where to find it, or if you have it off the top of your head, rattle it off.
Well, Dexter was there on Sunday, and Josh, right?
Yeah,
Vukovic?
Josh Woodkovich, yeah.
From Chinook. I mean, he already shot 400 this year down in Calgary during YBC, and he shoots another one during the qualifying. And
For first game, shoots 400, like 420 or something, and
Yeah,
then comes
420.
back with another 300 right away. He had a 720 double to start, and really just had to coast home after that. He shot 18-13 for 6, which is huge. Rylan played great. Jeremiah Said played great. But you can't play defense at bowling, right? And you're playing in St. Albert. You go to Bonnie Doon and you shoot average 300 for the day. Somebody might compete with you, but going to St. Albert or a place like that doesn't have the same scoring as Bonnie Doon, shooting 1800, it's going to be really tough to beat him. Even if we were playing, the open qualifying, he averages 300 for the day. He's winning, right? As adults. So there's no defense. The other two played great. Great on Josh. It was phenomenal watching.
yeah,
Good for him.
Yeah, and obviously Michaela, she had like a 300-point lead going into the last game, so she she was in good hands. And then I had to look at the other ones, to be honest with you. I know our bantam, our junior girl, Payne Tilden, made it. And then I can't tell you the rest, to be honest with you.
Do you know if there's a link that people could go to if they want to look it up?
If you should go on maybe Bowl Alberta's website under results. If not,
Okay.
it's under Facebook under Bonnie Doon, St. Albert, and Sher Park. And then we're talking about the Pro League. The Pro League, I think, ran really well. We almost had to give out our first warning to Bobby Kite because he knocked the camera over. But
I tuned in just in time to watch a topple. I was like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah.
You just hit the table in the wrong way, or what?
it was on a ladder.
It was a ladder.
Oh yeah.
They
The requirement to have to get it so high messes with things, man.
Yeah.
And the pit
for
straight
sure.
on and super high. Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a great playing. So obviously the first 2 matches for every team is completed. Obviously people can check out on our YouTube page the Pro League videos to get the updated standings, or just go to 5pin Universe /Pro Team League and you can see where the standings are on there as well.
Bombers play this weekend. Super excited. Although I can't find
bet.
my shirt, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just order a new one.
Yeah. But it's almost make or break for you guys, eh? I mean, this
I
early
just
in the
Make or
season.
break.
obviously tonight as I come in to the podcast, I'm like, oh shit, there's my shirt. Awesome. I didn't have to panic order a new one. Yeah, we do. It is make or break. It is. It's a big weekend for the Bombers, so we'll have to pull out a couple of wins, or else the season's over for us. We'll stick to commentating.
Well, it's only after this weekend, you're only halfway through your season, so it's
Right.
not necessarily make or break. You only got to be in the top half of your division, so
Yeah.
it's not over till literally the last game is thrown.
So
So
what, do you guys have any different strategies this week coming up?
I don't think we want to talk about that. It's probably time to get to our guest, don't you think?
yeah, for sure. Exactly. So obviously you can become a patron of 5pin Universe at patreon.com/5pin Universe for as little as $2 a month and help us complete these podcasts, interview these great guests, and continue what we've been doing. And we got some stuff in the woodwork for you all, and hopefully we can bring you some good stuff in the future. So without further ado, let's bring in our special guest. Mr. Sean Smith. How's it going,
man.
sir?
It's me.
Hey guys, how are you?
Smith is in.
Thanks for having me.
The fans are already asking where you're at. Our banter went 15 minutes instead of the regular 13 and a half. Sorry, everybody. We don't want to ruin it for you all, but
One fan? Do I have one fan? Two? Maybe?
it was one person.
Looks like you got a nice setup down there. Nice prime location for your office. Hey, Smitty, in your house?
Yeah, that's called the dungeon, the basement. Yeah, no, we haven't finished the basement yet, this area over here. But, 20 months of working at home. It's, hey, usually I have the green screen or I have the, the backdrop of something other than hey, you're getting the real me today. Not like you never do, but you're getting the real me today. Yeah.
How has working from home been for you?
Being in sales, I mean, it's you're not in the office a whole bunch anyways, but it's just been this has been a learning curve a little bit, right? I mean, just having access to certain things, files, but we work off Teams, and I'm just, it hasn't changed a whole bunch, to be honest with you, Dex. Like it's, I get out quite a bit to see people. I'm not too afraid of this, this vid. So it is what it is, right? So.
For people that don't know, Sean, our audience, what do you do for work?
Well, I'm in sales and marketing, so I've been in radio marketing and sales for 21 years, I guess it's been now, and I'm with a couple different companies, but currently I'm with Stingray Media, so I do digital and radio marketing sales. So yeah, it's been good. So providing solutions, it's what I do. I provide solutions for problems that clients have within their business, and it just so happens that I can use radio as a platform or digital. So when I deal, when you're dealing with digital is so big now, right? Whether you're looking at Google, Facebook, like from the social side, Instagram, all that side. Connected TV is a big one now. I mean, you young guys are big into the cord cutters. You don't want to pay for cable anymore. So you stream off the internet. I know you do, Carrie. So that's a big one. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't continue to do it if I haven't enjoyed it. So it's been good. So.
Awesome.
Now, I know you definitely wanted to get into our banter conversation about the soccer game.
Oh,
just itching probably to talk about the amazing Canadian soccer and how tough these players are out there.
Yeah,
give us your hot take.
Hey, I think it's great for Canada. I mean, I personally I don't follow soccer that much, but I mean, as a fan of sport, it was pretty cool, and as a fan of Canadian sport more so. I mean, it was pretty cool to watch them. I watched both the games, believe it or not. I don't think I've watched a soccer game in my life up until these last two games in its entirety. And my nephew, he plays what would he be, U13 or something like that? He was just up here on the weekend playing in this Cordoba Cup or whatever, and they won.
Caledonia Cup.
Whatever it is, there you go. Yeah. So anyways, it's pretty cool to watch him. They were playing a bunch of he's an 07, and they were playing a bunch of 08s, and so they were much bigger. But I'll tell you, from a skill level, they were crazy good. These young guys, these little guys, but they play all year round. Whether they play futsal, a lot too, right? And he's been in the Alberta Winter Games, and he's very good. Like with Weber's boy, like he's quite the soccer player too. So and my nephew is just unreal. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So the whole soccer thing. Well, like I said, diving 101 is the prerequisite, I think, to play any soccer. So I mean, the women seem to stay on their feet better than the men for some reason. I don't know, but holy crap. I laugh because you always have that video, or you guys post that all the time, where Weber stuck on the lines or whatever, fouled, and he got that thing on the the outline, the chalk line of the body, or if it's Gino or whatever.
Gino, yeah.
Out. I'm like, it's like, seriously, there's snipers in the crowd shooting these soccer players because they are going down. Like the goaltender, like what's that all about? I mean,
he dove on the ground after every single time he touched the ball. He was lying on the ground. Yeah.
And I just don't understand the extended time thing. Like, I guess it's run time, and then they figure out injury time afterwards. So really, it's like, when does the game really end? Whenever the ref feels like it. But I think the ref was the star of the show last night. It was pretty fun.
The ref actually did a pretty good job, and I don't know. when the Canada goalie goes into the net and picks up that ball and just hangs on to it to try to kill time.
To kill time, yeah.
And then the Mexicans had a good reason to be mad, and at least that ref got in his face, like straight up in his face.
Legit in his face. He'd even did it a couple times. Like he would come right up to the player and like, whoa, buddy. Like,
yeah, but at some point it seemed warranted.
One of the things that impressed me the most was I'd like to see what Alphonso Davies runs 100 in. Because that guy is ridiculous. Like he just either those guys are slow, or he's just really fast. Because wow, I was just like, that was impressive.
Maybe a new event in the Olympics needs to be running for the length of a field, but dribbling a ball.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to work your way through cones, just like a hurdles. You know, there's 110-meter hurdles, so there's now 110-yard dribbling the ball through cones.
We want to keep viewership, Daryl. We don't want to lose viewership.
The largest fan base in the world would be all over it, though. So I don't think it's a loss.
Don't they have those kind of things though, Daryl, at dog shows?
Exactly. Yeah.
Alphonso Davies didn't seem to run out of energy, though. He was still sprinting before they pulled him out in the last 5 minutes or whatever the situation was. But he was still charging guys down. It was crazy.
Yeah,
just to stay warm.
Why do they start doing like football does? They start playing prevent defense. Like everyone's just crowding the net, and not like. Obviously, what you guys have done for the entire game has worked for you. Why are you doing this? It drove me nuts.
It's lockdown time.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
No, I know. It gets scary for sure. It's panic time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was a blast to watch. Like I said, cool. I only caught the last 25 minutes, so I didn't get the long, boring early start. But the last 25 were solid. It was fun to watch.
Anyway, I'm sure that all of our listeners would really like us to talk about soccer for the next hour and a half, so we're actually here to get into Sean Smith's brain, aren't we?
Oh boy. Here we go. Yeah.
Let's go back to the early days, though, buddy. Where did you fall in love with the sport of bowling, 5-pin bowling, a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, geez. I was 5 years old actually when I started bowling. My cousins got it. We started at Toppler as a bowling at Toppler, free fall. So that's how I got into the bowling. Really was through my cousins. And then I just, we didn't have a lot of money, our family, so we, it was just one of those sports. Now it's a sport, but at that time it was a game for me, right, and something to do. And every Saturday, the YBC program and that. So it was great. I enjoyed playing YBC and then going upstairs to the arcade. That was the fun thing right afterwards was, and then walk down to my aunt and uncle's and we just kind of Saturday afternoon cartoons or later morning cartoons. And so that's how I got into it. Was through my cousins, to be honest with you. And then I just continued it, loved it, started to get, I don't know, just practiced a little bit and had fun with it. And I don't know, I don't even know when it all began. Like you just started going through the whole YBC program, right? You're in the bantams, the peewees, the bantams, the family twosomes are some of the things I remembered bowling with my mom and dad. We always wanted to bowl with my mom because my dad was shitty. So, so my mom was the bowler, and so we'd always want to, win with mom. But I think I don't know if we won with dad or not. But he wasn't the bowler at all. And then, just kind of kept going along. And then, went through the whole program. 4 steps was big for me. Again, played singles all the time. It seemed like I was never either I was really bad, so I never made a team, or I was really good and I made singles. So it was the whole thing. And I had a really hard time. I never went to nationals though. Never went to nationals once in YBC. Always seemed to, when you're a single bowler, you just kind of a lot of pressure on you. And I had a bad attitude. I'll be frank. I had a bad attitude. I was mad. I used to hit things. I used to be, people didn't like me very much because, and maybe they still don't, but back then I just, had a really bad attitude. So it was tough. It was tough. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I think that was the big thing too. So, but and then from that point, just kept playing YBC and made some Pepsi team. Made my first Pepsi team. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. That was up in Leduc. We got snowed in, and we got to go to West Edmonton Mall back in the day when it was first opened. So that was fun. And Pepsi's was great. And then
When it first opened, there was a time where West Edmonton Mall wasn't a thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. It would have been 90s, early 90s.
I don't even know. It was a long time ago. That was a long time ago.
I remember when West Edmonton Mall opened. It was huge.
Was it 80 something? It was in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have your rookie photo for you challenge.
Oh, great.
Oh, let's see it, Tim.
Oh, I had to send it. I don't know how to screen share.
Sorry, go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, who were some of the guys that, like, was there people that we would know that you would have played at Toppler? And did you do YBC the whole time at Toppler?
No. So the funny part was I was at Toppler. John Campbell, Ian Coward, a couple of those. Oh no, actually, Ian was actually over at Chinook. So what ended up happening? I was at Toppler for a while, and then it just, a couple of guys started leaving Toppler and going over to Chinook. Now, and I think Chinook was kind of where it was at, right? That's where all the good YBC bowlers were kind of out of, apparently, right? So we ended up going over to Chinook, and that's when John. You've never heard of John Campbell, or you've heard Ian Coward, but then Melinda, right? Johnston, which is Melinda Shelton now, right?
Yeah.
Angie Ginjera. Angie Ginjera was an amazing bowler. Her brother was Randy Ginjera, played for Team Canada volleyball.
Oh yeah, sure.
She was a phenomenal bowler, and I knew, like, Angie and Melinda always battled it out a lot too, and so that was great, kind of neat to see. And actually that's where I met Melinda's dad. Melinda's dad was kind of a coach for me, which was great. He helped me out a lot. Don Marshall, can't thank Don enough. Obviously now I can't, but he was like a dad to me. When my father passed away, I was 18 when he passed away. So yeah, to have Don Marshall in my life was pretty amazing. I'll never ever forget that. Right? Pam and Jen
did Pam and Jen bowl out of Toppler as well? Where did they start?
No, they were out of Centennial for a while, Centennial Lanes, and then I think they went to Claiborne, if I'm not mistaken. But when Centennial closed down, this is going way back, right? But like I said, they were my family. They really were, Pam and Jen and Don. So very, very cool. And so Don was, like I said, Don was kind of I would say kind of my coach too, right? So he kind of helped me out a lot. And when I made my first open team, he was there, and he was a huge supporter of mine. When I first came out of YBC to make my first open team, that was pretty cool. So. But yeah, no, like, again, all through the YBC years, really, and then Cokes. So my last year, I think, was YBC was Cokes, right? When we did, you guys all played the Cokes. I think you didn't play Pepsis. You guys were too young. So
I did the Cokes. I don't think I ever did the Pepsis either. But I was similar to you, Smitty. I was always.
It was called Youth Classic when I was in.
Okay, so
I was always singles and never made nationals either, buddy. So similar as your YBC. Right, and that experience is, I missed out on playing on teams, and I didn't think about it at the time. Would have been nice to play, but yeah, definitely the stress and pressure you put on yourself to win something, and never fortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you're right. I mean, Daryl, that's we're very, bowling's a pretty individual sport, right? Like, especially for the when you're playing for the cash, right, and all that. So. But then when you start playing on the teams, like, that's why I love the cash tournaments. I love the doubles, I love the triples, I love the 4 players. Those were for me the best, right? I love that in the cash tournaments. I really do. I'm not to say I don't like the single stuff, but it just seems like the team thing really is big for me. I really enjoy that. So I think that's, and then when you have the opportunity, when you haven't played on teams for, most of your career or bowling career, and then all of a sudden you get to play on teams, it's really, really cool. And you kind of, I don't know if you try harder, you concentrate more, or you just don't want to let the guys down. Like, there's a bunch of factors that come into play, and you really cherish those moments.
Yeah.
So let's chat a bit about your first team experience. Maybe was Alberta Winter Games. You had briefly mentioned that, but you had a partner in that and did quite well. team experience.
Yeah.
I know we want to touch on
Yeah.
that for a bit.
That was really cool. When we qualified, you go out and you do the whatever qualifying, whatever it was for. I don't even remember how we qualified, but it was a two-player Alberta Winter Games. So we'd find, oh great, we qualified for the Alberta Winter Games. It's me and David Weber. So that's Adam's older brother. Now David's, Adam should tell you this too, and probably Rich, but David was the best bowler out of the three.
Adam openly admits that all the time. Says
Yeah.
that David was hands down the best bowler out of the three of them.
Yeah, and we used to do a thing, just going back to the YBC side of things. We used to do a YBC every Friday night. It was a qualifying. It was like a 5-game qualifier. Cost you like probably $40 or something like that to get into it. And this was out at Gibson's Lanes, and you do a 5-game qualifier, and then you go into a top 5 step ladder. You qualify for a top 5 step ladder, and then you run the step ladder, right? Well, David won a lot. David was very good. He came from the right ditch and threw it in that way, like very, very upright. But I called it he kind of threw a little bit of a backup, but it was pretty straight in from the right ditch, and very, very good bowler. So he was my teammate for the Alberta Winter Games. And so we qualify for this thing, and it's like, okay, we're in Red Deer. It's going to be in Red Deer. This is great. Okay, good. They're like, we're going to get sprung. Back then, you guys I don't think you've heard of sprung. You've heard of sun ice. Sun ice jackets, sun ice winter jackets. Okay. Yeah. Sun ice, there was sun ice, and then there was sprung. So sprung and sun ice were the two kind of brands for winter jackets back then. And so we're like, oh great, we're gonna get nice winter jackets. Sprung is awesome. So we show up to the buses, right, to get on the buses to go up to Red Deer, and there's everybody there. There's women's, there's girls hockey, there's girls, handball. There's like all this, like all these sports, right? And we're like, they're like, oh, what are you guys here for? We're like, bowling. like, you didn't even want to say you're bowling. You got racquetball guys, you got squash guys. Like, we're bowlers. But anyways, we ended up going up to Red Deer for the Alberta Winter Games, and they're handing out our gear when we're up there. Well, these jackets they give us, they're like paper thin. Like, these are summer jackets, and it is -30, and it is flipping freezing up there, right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh. So we're running you have to go you're staying in the school, you're going from the school to the bus, and it's like, and all we have are these jackets because we think we're getting winter jackets, right? Like, and I'm like, holy shit, and this is cold. But it was a lot of fun, and so I got to play with David Weber, and we went 14-0 and won the gold medal. So that was an unbelievable experience for us. So I can't even. And we were the junior team, and then trying to think, Mike Campbell and Russ Moore were the two that were the other two, and I think they won gold or they got silver. I can't remember, but yeah, we did pretty good. It was fun. A lot of fun.
Don Sims giving you a few names there: Rob Raymond, Mike Sally, John Artie.
Oh yeah,
Dave and you.
Yeah, Mike Sally, great player. Rob Raymond, great. Like, these are just just awesome. Yeah, really, really cool. Yeah.
You had to know that Simber would come in with that stat.
You know what,
he's
guys?
He's got that. Just warm him up. He's ready for them, right?
I was blessed. I was blessed to grow up playing in Calgary with a bunch of these legends, right? Like you got the Brian Rossettis, you got the Ken Norrises, you've got the Don Sims, the Rick Nosads. Like, these guys. I didn't get to play with a Stan Black and a Larry or Barry Ellert, but I got to watch them because one of my first jobs was working at Chinook actually as a pin chaser, and they would pot bowl. They would pot bowl on Saturday afternoons. They would have their bags and that, and they'd go down there and they'd pot bowl and hours. Like, you talk about practicing. These guys practicing and pot bowling, and it was crazy. It was crazy how much they would play and how serious they were. Like, it was awesome. It was really cool to watch. But yeah, Simmer, it was pretty lot of fun. But anyways, blessed to bowl with a lot of these guys, and they bowled on one of the leagues we had was the Masters League. And I think Kerry, you and I have talked about it a little bit. You guys actually talk about stats and stuff like that. Well, we had handwritten stats after every game. Attempts at the middle, like in your 10 frames, attempts in the middle, the hits, corner pin left, corner pin right, how many your spares, your percentages. I think Simmer for a year, get this, for a year, I think he holds the record. Don will be able to tell you probably, but he holds the record. I think 98% was his, something like that. 98% picking corners for the year.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
Like it's like this is the
Take
cool.
that,
These guys
Jim
are-
Head.
Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
That's the
I
stats we
might
need
be
to bring
wrong,
that
guys,
back.
on that, but it was pretty cool to watch. Like, and then at the end of the year, Rick would give us a booklet summarizing the whole year, like the records, and it was great. It was a great tool to watch and look at.
And of course, that all would have been handwritten score sheets at the time.
Everything's
So
handwritten,
somebody
yeah.
would have to take it home and start compiling all that stats.
Yeah. That's the old school way for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys,
But,
Tim or Dex, can you dive into the computer system and go back into like all the games that you've played on a Sunday match or a
Yeah.
league night and look at them?
Up to 3 months.
So every 90
Yeah.
days you need to do a printout or you need to download it all.
Just you wait. WCVT is going to have stats from the Autumn Open and the TPC here shortly. You'll be able to see all the good player stats and
I
the
love
bad
it.
player stats.
Well, it's kind of neat, right? It's kind of neat just to kind of compare your year after year or how you're doing. Gives you something to shoot for. Like I remember, Holdsworth, Kev and I, and we were in the league too. And Kev was very competitive, as you know. Kev, nothing's changed. I mean, geez, I just saw him at TPC. I mean, again, I haven't seen him for a while, but his intensity's never changed. And I still say that if there's a guy that could pick to throw, if I couldn't throw it myself and I could pick one guy to throw one ball for a strike, for $1 million, he still would be that guy for me, because Kevin is, he's that good, right? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so these, the stats and that are pretty awesome to kind of go back and see, and just, that's what, we compare eras and stuff and bowlers, and I was, like I said, I was blessed to play with a lot of these guys like Don and that. I mean, Ron Moore, he was another one. Like, it just, Colin Cure. Now there's a guy, like, again, another mentor, right? Like, did you ever get to play with Colin, or did you ever see him play?
I watched.
I did
Dylan.
some of my early years. I think he's
Yeah.
probably on a couple of open teams, but near his end. But I remember watching and him playing, and he could shoot, right? Stand up
man.
shot still too, big star line. I can picture,
Well, he
throwing
broke
it,
his
so-
wrist, right? Did he ever tell you that? He broke his wrist.
I'm
And
not
the wrist
sure
is set a certain way. So it's the same release almost every time with him.
Yeah.
And then Harvey, right? Another guy. Like, everybody knows Harvey and how great a player Harvey is. So, and then also look at Sanderson, Dave Sanderson. You guys never saw Dave Sanderson?
I did too.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Roy Cunningham. Like, these are guys, like, amazing guys, right? Like, just so cool to play with those guys. And that's how I grew up watching those guys, right? And I'm pretty sure you're going to have a bunch of the younger generation growing up and watching everybody else. Like, you guys grew up watching the Bruces and the Lynns and the Brian Goodhopes of the world, right? So
So, Sean, we had talked about this just the other day about bowling. We said bowling is in its best form it is right now. It's never been better. The bowlers are as good as they ever been. Counter argue that, as in you just said, there's all these legends played at these times. There are these big scores. All relative into the times that you're living in. There's the best players playing at that time, and you think it's the best, but maybe it was the best, in the 80s or in the 90s or in the 70s, right? There's always been a generation for better to argument.
yeah, it's really hard to say that it's the best it's ever been. It might be, like, right now, right, today, but I mean, back in the when you had the Western Canadians and you had the Carling O'Keefes, and I mean, that bowling was big, you guys. Like, it was huge, and we. Again, I mentioned all those guys, man, like, it's bowling was strong back then. Bowling's strong now. There is a bit of a lull. Of course, you can see there's a bit of a lull. Why that happened, I don't exactly know why that's happening, right? But really, now it's coming back, and I commend all you guys now for putting the efforts in, and if you're bringing one or two people out to a tournament, right, or coming out to a league or whatever it is, just to join, like, that's how you keep it going, and then you hope the next guys keep doing the same, right? You know, like I could ask everyone, how did you get into bowling these tournaments, right? Who took you under your wing to bring you to a tournament, right? I traveled. I was lucky enough to travel with Kevin a lot, Holdsworth. I mean, we used to go to tournaments, and I mean, gosh, I had no money, right? I mean, I was writing checks that were, don't tell anybody. Oh, I'm sure now we are, but I'm writing checks that I got no money in the bank account for, right? And I'm bowling, I'm qualifying, and I'm going and buying my check back. Like, that's how strapped you were when you go to these bowling tournaments and you're bowling under that kind of pressure. It's kind of, you know, I don't recommend that.
We don't accept checks anymore either.
Cash only.
So
exactly. Yeah.
So Sean, I do have a question. We're talking about generations, right? And I do want to say first of all that I think scoring is a lot better than it was back then. I think technology is a lot better. I kind of, you're a golfer. I think today's scoring obviously is no different than the drivers you used to have, right? You have better drivers than you had when Jack Nicklaus was there using the wood driver, right? I really think technology is a lot different with the black bases and a little bit, the bands are better and all this other stuff. But anyways, let me finish my point. You can talk later. But I do want to say, so if you're talking about generation, what matchup would you like to see a mano between bowlers from generation? So for like an Adam Weber versus, you know, maybe a Stan Black, or is what matches would you guys like to see in the past in their primes?
I see a big, huge bracket system being built here, Tim. Like there's going to be a today's generation, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Like there's going to be a massive bracket going on here.
Gosh,
Sean, I've just given you some time to think about that answer.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big one. That's a big ask there, because man, there's some players like, you know, I mean, you'll Tom Stevenson will tell you the story about him and Stan Black in a match. You know, Bonnie Doon playing at the Rose Bowl and how that went. And but you know, like that's a tough one. That's a real tough one, because you're bringing in guys like Norm Shannis into the picture, right? Frank Levine, right? These are, you know, to see what they would have been like, right?
In the prime, yeah.
In the prime, exactly. In their prime. Don Sim, right? Like these are, you know, amazing, right? Just to watch some of these guys. But yeah, I'd have to think about that, Tim. That's a tough one, right? That's a tough one. But to go back to your analogy about drivers and golf and technology, yes, technology's, yeah, absolutely. It's improved a lot of things. But you remember something? Jack Nicklaus averaged 280 yards off the tee with a persimmon wood. Okay, and a Bellata golf ball. Okay, like you're bringing in titanium woods, golf balls that go farther, right? I mean, yeah, if you compared Jack Nicklaus and he got to use in his prime with his equipment, he'd be like a Bryson DeChambeau almost. Right? No, not that. Not so, like that. But I mean, he'd be long, right?
That's exactly what I was trying to say. Because if you think about it now, like the scores are higher than they've been in the past, right? And I think that's a huge bit of the factor. If you look at the scores in the past, you know, a 250, a 245. I know this is really bugging Dexter, but what would make an open team, right? But now it's 260. Yeah. And I think the players are comparable. It's just the technology is a lot different.
I would agree. You can thank Don Sim a lot too, right? Because he's the one that brought in the bowling ball, the personalized bowling ball. I mean, that changed the game. Strings to free fall to strings, I should say. It's changed the bases. You know, there's so many different factors. Your own personal bowling shoes.
Yeah, for sure. I think bowling shoes are a big thing. But I'm not going to disagree with you completely, Tim. But it is. Like, there is a difference, and like the pinfall has definitely gotten better in the last couple of years, but it is better, but it's also just different. You know, you make your analogy about golf and like the equipment that they had back then. Sure, the equipment has gotten like way better now. They hit the ball way further, but they've also adjusted all the courses. You know, they start making the courses longer. They start putting in dog legs. They start making it tougher. So yeah, okay. So maybe the equipment is better, but they just change the game a little bit and they adjust it so that it's different. I don't think
it's called tiger proofing.
Yeah. So it is different. And like, yes, okay. So the black bases came in, and the black bases have made a big difference. They have, but there was a big difference. There was a big drop off when you went from free fall to string. You know. So it'd be interesting to see what that difference is between free fall and black bases as opposed to, you know.
I think it's just consistency, right? Like, you look at it now, the centers are all synthetic, or a lot of them are synthetic. There's a maintenance schedule, there's oiling machines, there's a lot more consistency, so a player knows what they're stepping into. And I think the same thing goes for the golf courses now, right? There's a standard. There's machines they use to make everything a consistent level. When you have consistency and you know what you're walking into, you're probably going to perform better, right? There's just the comfortability with it. Where when Jack Nicklaus was playing back, who knows what fairway he was hitting into, and if the rough was going to be cut or the fairway was going to be cut differently, right? There's a lot more to it now for consistency levels. I don't know if the scoring technically is better. It's just more consistent.
Yeah, and then you gotta. So, here's the thing. Like in golf, guys, it's not about hitting the perfect shot. It's about managing your misses.
Yeah,
that's golf, right? Because you don't hit a perfect. Like very few people hit a perfect shot, right? I mean, it's all about, okay, where do I want to miss this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in bowling, right? In bowling, it's great to get on a run for strikes. Don't get, that's what we all thrive to do. I mean, we want to get that, but it's also about your spares. I mean, you gotta be able to have spares, right? I mean, the problem with bowling, I've always said, 5-pin bowling especially, is we get punished a lot of times for doing what we're supposed to do, and that's hit the head pin, right? Once you hit the head pin on the beak, it's we're talking millimeters and centimeters of the difference between a head pin and a strike, or a head pin and a corner pin, or whatever, right? So that's the thing about bowling. So that's why bowling, 5-pin bowlers, I mean, to be that accurate is pretty impressive. And nowadays, the kids, the younger guys, I mean, there's a lot of confidence, and they throw the ball really well. And what I noticed mostly with bowlers is they're pretty much up the gut, right? Mm-hmm. So Stevie, there you go. Like straight up the gut. And it's all about, do they know what to do when they start getting into situations when you're popping, right? Like all of a sudden you're all over the head pin, right? I mean, Kerry, you just throw it harder. I look at Adam Weber, for example. Adam, he's throwing a lot slower, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw in that perfect game. Obviously, he just threw. I mean, it didn't seem like he's throwing the ball as hard anymore. It's a little slower now, which is great. I don't know how hard Derek Holmes still throwing it, but when they get into trouble up the middle, right? Can you guys adjust and come down the sides to create angles and that? Or are you chopping more because of your speed? Like, what happens in those cases, right? Mm-hmm. So the good bowlers adjust. Like you talk about a story with, I think it was Don Sim told me the story. Somebody told it. Norm Shannis, when he won the Western Canadians, he went from throwing it was Robert. Maybe Robert told me this, but he went from throwing a hook from the left side, and he wasn't doing very good, to he ended up going to the right side and throwing a backup. So, and going off on to win, right? So it's, the caliber of bowlers, do they have those shots, right? Like, can they make adjustments like that and still be good at it, right? Is pretty neat. So yeah. So that's what I mean, to compare the eras and the I don't know if that in this day and age guys do that, or back with
it'd be super fun to make that big bracket, or try to how do you put a committee together, and let's place Frank Levine versus Mitch Davies, who would win. Let's place another couple of guys against guys, and just see how it works all down.
Don't forget the ladies. You got Sandy Horton, like Sandy, right? Sandy Horton. You've got you got Karen, right? Winnipeg, Monchuk, right? Like, you got some unbelievable players, right? Don't forget, the ladies are unreal, right? So
we could do another one for ladies, or add the ladies into the mix. Like, you could just
so
to go with Steve Greenside's comment, I think that is the sheer deciding, like, the top players are the top players. I don't think if you go era to era, they're probably all fairly comparable, just due to the sheer amount of attendance, the amount of players playing. There was just more players that were at that level, right? Now, even though we're getting large amount of influx of players playing these cash events, there was probably like we're getting 150 odd players playing these WCBT events. Probably back then there was probably 600 or 700 players that could play them, but who knows, right? Travel was a lot tougher back then. It was expensive to fly, right? Like it's tough to even say, but I think your top player is your top player. I don't really think you. Obviously, there's the standouts like the Frank Levines, the Fraser Hamleys, and like now you would have the Mitch Davies, the Dexters, the Webbers. Like you have the comparabilities. I just don't think there's a way to really say who is better. All you can do is go by championships or titles, right? That would be your deciding. But there was probably more titles to be won back then. Maybe there was more cash events to be played. Like,
well, there's also guys you got to remember too. There were some people that played it, were money players, right? There were some that thrived in playing for cash. Then there was others that thrived in playing in different, like a national championship of some sort, right? Whether it's a Masters or whatever. So, everybody has a different drive. One of the best money bowlers that we all know is Brian Goodhope, right? That guy is unbelievable, right? So, you talk invitationals, Saskatoon invitationals. I'm not sure how many times Brian had won it. Mark Jackson, like you guys, you didn't get, to play with Mark. I mean, oh my God, like that, people you talk about, and again, the eastern side of the country and the western side, there's a ton of the eastern guys like that I didn't get to play with, but I've heard of, and I mean, they're, again, like to your point, Kerry, the top players are the top players. That's why I've never enjoyed the fact that we say who are the best 100 players, right? That's not really, I don't like that at all, because it's all personal opinions in that too, right? And I just feel like you're right. The top players are the top players. Every era, every decade had some great players in them some that maybe didn't even play some of these tournaments, but are phenomenal bowlers, right? Like, so the top players are the top players. You're absolutely right.
The prime example that we always kind of talk about is like the Brad Mowens, right? We everybody knows he's great. He just doesn't play. Yeah. So how could you even make a comparability across the eras when you don't know who played the events and who only played like the Canadian Open or only played Masters, right? It's so tough. All you can do is go by what you see in the stats, what championships they've had, and stuff like that, right?
There's also the likability factor. I hate to say that, but a lot of people, go down that road. Seriously,
from a voting
contest.
Exactly.
Let's go to Opens sort of segment for you, Sean, because part of your opening bio was 2003 Open Men's Team gold medal. But talk about your first Open experience. Well, there's the 03. Kerry was queued up, ready to go.
Wow.
Solid pitcher there. But when was your first Open rookie experience? Probably out of Calgary, like you said.
Yeah, it was Calgary. Yeah, I'm trying to remember who I played with that year. I think that was. I'm trying to remember if it was my rookie one was in Lloyd. Might have been Lloyd. And we had a good team. I mean, I think I had Ken Norris on there and Brian Rossetti, and I had Holdsey. That's a while back, guys, and I'm trying to remember, but it was a lot and nervous. Holy cow! Here I am, like I make my first. I was actually my first time making the Open. I was singles too. I finished third, I think it was, second or third. Anyway, it didn't matter. But then I had to play the play the 10 game qualifying or the 20, whatever that is, the 10 games. I think it was 5 and 5. I don't remember. Anyway, it was a nerve-wracking experience. I mean, you're just hanging on. You're trying to play well. You're playing with all these guys that you've looked up to all your at the beginning of your career, and it was a lot of fun. But I didn't have the best experience, and I don't think we did that well either. So it's a lot more fun when you're feeling like you're involved and part of the team and the rah and all that. And I think some of the challenges Calgary always had was that they weren't the rah. They're more individuals than they were team. And that's, people will tell you that too. I mean, I know that that was like that for the ladies for a little while, and but since then they've kind of they've evolved. Everything's evolved, which is great. I mean, shoot, I mean, Edmonton was the zone where it was kind of like, okay, who are these players? As you got your Bruces, you got your Lins, you got your Brian, you got all these guys, and then you always get a wild card in there, right? You get some, like, who's that? Bob Bruno, who's he, right? Who's Remo Nestor, right? Like, who's Rick Salazan? Like, who are these guys? Like, you're like, who are these guys? But then you play them and they absolutely crush you. Like, they come out and they're just like throwing bombs, and you're like, what? Where did these guys come from, right? Like,
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just, I've been on the receiving end, but I've also been on the end where we got to crush people with guys that they've never heard of, right? Like when we got, Tim, Dex, you guys all know when we had Remo. So cool, right? So fun to have Remo on that team, and he was you talk about a guy nervous. But we made sure that he was not going to be nervous. He was going to come out and have a good time. So, but to go back, to my first team was back in Calgary. Then, I think I made a couple other ones.
And then when did you move up to Edmonton? And there, in between, obviously there.
20.
We'll work our way to 03 because I know Scotty wants to hear the story about 03. So
it was 20. So let's see, I would have been up here. Let's see, I'm 40, 49. So that would have been 20. I was 21, right? So. Yeah, that was 29 years ago. I came up to Edmonton, and I mean, that to me, guys, I got to tell you, I've never tried so hard to make an open team than when I first came to Edmonton, because it was just like, and it took me a long time to make it. And I think once I made it, it was fantastic. And so a bunch of years of heartache and not making it, and frustrations and anger and all that stuff that goes along with it. I had a hard time qualifying. I'm not a very good 20 game guy. Like, I'm just not. I'm more consistent than I am throwing the big scores, right? So I've never been that way. And sometimes you get lucky and you throw some big ones and it keeps you going, and you need to have that in a 10 game, 20 game qualifying. You got to have some big scores in there and not any stinkers, right? So and then 03, Daryl. Yeah, 03 was a
who was on the team? List those players off there, buddy.
Well, there's me, and then Jimmy Norcus. Holy cow, Jimmy! Look at him.
Jimmy was huge that weekend too.
He was
talk
awesome.
About a guy that was a bit unknown too, right? Norcus.
Yeah. Simple, very simple delivery, everything, right? Loved it, right up the gut. Johnny, right?
Yeah. Look at Mark Johnstone. Look at that dude.
Yeah. Holy cow! You guys.
You couldn't have his tie straight, but
that's all right. Looking good.
And Casey Campbell.
Jackson. So Jackson. Jackson, Casey, Daryl, and then obviously McIver, our coach. And I think that was a great year because it's always fun to go in.
I want to bring back that hairstyle. Hey, come on.
You just had it a couple weeks ago before you cut it.
Long gone, bud. Long gone with the underneath there.
But that was a fun year because that was in Red Deer, wasn't it?
Yeah, provincials were in Red Deer.
And what was our song? Oh, Eddie Rabbit. Every morning.
Yeah, the Jack Rabbit. Yeah, I should have looked it up.
Eddie Rabbit, driving our life away.
Yeah, on the way to the bowling alley every morning, you would jump in with me and Johnny. We'd go to the lanes.
Yeah. Eddie Rabbit, driving our life away. And then I think those are fun because when you it's good for us, not fun for everybody else. But when you pretty much have it locked up and you only have to bowl one game and have one win the next morning the last day to lock it up, one more win, and then it's kind of nice, right? So Daryl played amazing that weekend. I think you were an all-star too, Daryl.
I played in a 2-hole that weekend. I think I was 18-1, and I didn't play my last game. But it was an unreal weekend, and just the 5 of us as a team, or 6 of us, obviously, just absolutely gelled. Everybody had their spots. Yeah, we look back on the stats, absolutely smashed it. And Sean, you were a huge part of that team too. Right, just keeping the mojo, keeping it light, being the mix between veteran and between these young guys who were still partying quite a bit in those days. Right, we were late nights those nights too at the Open, probably 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then waking up at 8 and playing. But you were a good mix of that team, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like I say, I think Jackson moved up to be leadoff for us for pretty much from 3rd or 4th game, right?
For nationals, I think he did.
Oh, okay.
No, he didn't.
I think he was.
Provincials, was he lead off too?
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was right up there. Yeah. So it was just all. Anyways, it just everything clicked, right? It just seemed like we all gelled, and we went to nationals, which was in Surrey, I think that year, right? And ended up qualifying as the number 1 seed. So we had to get. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was pretty drunk that night. That was a lot of celebrations going on there. That was fun. Well, you go up with Quebec. I mean, Quebec's got that drinking song going, and you're just like,
oh yeah, I got pants.
So yeah, that was a lot. But we ended up number 1 seed, and then we had to play Ontario. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
Steve Barker.
Yes, that's right. And we played Ontario. We got they threw 15 and a half at us the first game. Yeah. And I mean, we still threw about 13 and a half, almost 1,400, but they threw 15 and a half and just thumped us. And then we came out the second game, and we beat them. So it was that was another game.
I got pulled in that first game and punched the wall. Remember, that's when my knuckle was the first time that I blew it up like 4 inches, and then didn't play the final, the last game, and you guys just smashed him. It was awesome.
See, that's the thing. Like, you don't see that anymore. I haven't seen too many people punch stuff anymore. It's kind of nice. You guys must like that, hey Dexter, Tim?
Oh,
honestly,
after the bathroom situation at Sure Bowl, I mean, we learned pretty hard about that.
Yeah, I'm glad it's kind of gone wayside. I mean, I don't mind people doing like damage to themselves. Just don't damage the bowling alleys.
The Band-Aid thing, I think, really opened up people's eyes.
That was fun that year. That was
when we started putting Band-Aids on TPC, just and
I found
everybody felt like an
Band-Aids
idiot
for like 6 months after that. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But you're right, Sean. That night, that champions room was pretty fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
An experience, and yes, you almost fell off the balcony. But the following year, 4 out of the 6 of us won provincials again, and went to nationals in Quebec again for the Open. And back up though. At 03 at nationals, you had an outstanding nationals, and we're an all-star at nationals. I remember you being the driving force of our team for sure there at Surrey. It was an unreal performance, and I think you let yourself go a little bit at the banquet after, which is we'll get into. But the next year, you were awesome that year. But then the next year, back to back, pretty cool experience too, to go to nationals back to back, and then obviously didn't have the final success we wanted. But
yeah, it's just, you know what, guys, like, you get to be part of a team, and I think it's when you haven't been part of a team, pretty much in your career, and I think I really thrive, like I said, going back to playing the doubles with Steve Cummings, and the triples with Shannis and Holdsworth. Like, we've had a lot of success playing those doubles and triples. So you kind of get that, you feed off each other, the energy, and then the fact that when you start playing an open team or a Masters team, and it's just it's just great to have that energy and do your best to be part of it, whether you're playing good or bad. I mean, you got to be positive either way, right? I mean, it's not fun to be on the bad side of it. We've all been there. I mean, my first Masters, I think I don't know how many deuces I ripped out. I might have set a record. For deuces on the first ball and that was I think that was in Quebec somewhere too. So Hamilton maybe, I don't know, but it was ridiculous ripping out deuces. Funny story about deuces, actually. One of my first Masters was in Newfoundland. Actually, my first Masters was in Newfoundland. I was with Greg Gigliak, and on the team with Greg, and we went to Newfoundland, and we're bowling beside Winnipeg, Manitoba, and Robert was on, I think he was on 9 in a row going into 10. Yeah, he was on 9 in a row going into 10. He gets up there, and everyone's all watching, and they're clapping. He gets up there, and Robert, I mean, it doesn't matter what Robert does. His style is just impeccable, and the pace is impeccable. So he gets up there, and he gets up to the line, lets it go, and all we hear is, "Whew!" And he rips out a deuce, a left deuce. And the whole team left the pit. The whole team left the pit, and he's up there standing there, and I'm standing up there, and I'm like, "Hey, Robert." He's like, "Man," he says, "I let that thing go. I could have sworn it was gonna be left pocket." Like, it's just, yeah, he just shook his head. What do you do, right? I mean, you talk about a great player. I mean, he's just amazing. So But yeah, so then that was a great little trip there to Newfoundland. But love it a lot.
So on that note, you talked a little bit about some of the teammates and some of those players that you played with. What are some of the qualities that make a great teammate? You've obviously possessed some of those yourself and have been there for teams along the way. But talk to us more about good teammates.
Yeah, like I still say that you don't have to have the best players to make up the best team, and that's what it's been proven day in and day out. You can have good players. It's how everybody perceives themselves, how everybody gels, right? Like I think that again, going back to some of the teams that Edmonton's produced, some of the teams that I've been on with some amazing bowlers, like playing some, like you're looking on a score sheet, you're looking, holy cow, like on paper, these guys should walk away with us from the talent. I mean, look at Central Zone, right? Like look at those teams from the Central Zone, Gary. I mean, some of those teams are just like, you're like, wow, like the talent that is there, they should be blowing people away. And it seems like Central comes out and lays an egg the first day, and then they decide to bowl the second and third day. It's crazy, right? But
we pulled it off once. That's
you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not saying they do it all the time, Kerry, but I'm just, it's we always say you got to watch out for Central on the second day, because that seems to be where they shine. But it's all about, it really does, the teammates, it's all about how you get along. It's all about confidence. It's all about building confidence. It's all about, like, Tim, I don't know how many times you cherried a 3-pin, but it just became comical when we played that year in Medicine Hat. I mean, but you got to the point where we made you feel like, you weren't stressed about it every time you got a chop off if you were going to spare that thing or not. We just got to the point where it was like, hey, let's go, right? I mean, and he did. And you got to when it's enough, you put enough pressure on yourself to perform well for your teammates, because you don't want to let them down. You don't need the added pressure with somebody standing back there and you miss a corner pin and they're giving you the, oh my God, like I can't believe you just missed that for us to lose or whatever. You have to really, you just got to make sure you're very encouraging, positive that way, right? And trying to keep it light. Don't make it complicated. Focus on a couple things, right, as a team. And I think all we did that one when we were in Medicine Hat, guys, I think Tim Dex, all we kept saying to ourselves was, like, keep shooting spares, guys. Like, keep making the spares, right? Like, let's.
Had to, yeah.
Right, we had to. I mean, you weren't throwing them. There wasn't a bunch of strikes down there. That was the greasiest I've ever seen lanes, right? I mean, that was unbelievable. But we just kept saying, okay, shoot your spares, right? That's what we have to do. So it's teammates are fun. Love them. Yeah. And you can't pick them all the time. You can't pick them. You can pick your team. It's a little different. You can't always pick your team. Pick your friends. You can pick your team, but you can't pick your friend's nose team. That's something. I don't know what is that. You can pick your nose. What does that say? What's it say? You can pick your nose. You can pick your friends. You can't pick your friend's nose. That's what it's got.
I know 2013 was like a unique year. Like, I was fortunate to play with you, and Dexter's on our team, Brett Mapstone, Remo, and Schultz. Schultz was on our team, right? And
another great player. Jeez.
On paper, I don't think we were the team to beat by any means. I always thought Central and Calgary were the better team.
You say that every year, so we don't believe you, Tim, anymore.
But you know what? I think how you and how everybody brought Remo along was a really big thing, because Remo was a wild card for us, right? We had no idea what to expect. For a lot of you guys out there don't know, is that Remo was on anxiety pills. He was on a bunch of other things, and we had to put him to bed at a certain time. He had to have eaten by a certain time. It was a lot to it, and Remo really persevered from it and played very well, and we were super happy for it. But it's a matter of getting your team together and gelling, right? And it's not just Edmonton zone. There's other zones out there that do the same thing with certain players, right? So
they sure do.
Yeah.
With Remo, the greatest thing is when we found out that he was like super anxious about being pulled, and then we just put him on the bench to start. And when he came off the bench, he was not anxious about it. He was
lights out.
Got to be one of the best performances ever by somebody coming off the bench.
It was crazy. It was like guaranteed 5-bagger almost every time.
For that many games, again, one of those stats we'd love to see, right? But coming in off the bench and average off.
But
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sean, I've got to say, like I've given you a lot of credit over the years. You were a fantastic teammate. You were one of the best teammates I've ever had. You were super positive. You were super supportive. You definitely did a ton of things to try to bring our team together, including like team belts and stuff like that, and the ones that smelled like Sprite, and it was great. But the thing that always blew my mind is we played nationals, and nationals you struggled. You averaged 224 at nationals in 2013.
No way, really?
Yeah, and I had no
That high?
clue.
That high?
Yeah. But I had no idea. I had no idea that you struggled as much as you did. Not a clue.
I did.
And honestly, I didn't know that until stats afterwards. But that was a testament to how good of a teammate you were. That we had no idea that you were struggling that bad. Besides getting pulled all the time.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? I mean, hey, like I say, ego aside, if I'm sucking the hind one, I'll be the cheerleader on the bench. I'd rather have guys. How many times have we said it? I mean, yeah, you want to be part of it, but if you got a team rolling, you don't change it. You roll with what's working, right? You don't make those changes. I mean, then that's where everyone's ego's got to be put aside a little bit too. You can't, a win's a win. That's what it comes down to, right?
So, honestly, that's my favorite part about the Open is the fact that if I am sucking, get me out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people makes them anxious, like Remo, and some people it's a comfort blanket, and it just depends on how you want to look at it.
Stick through it, grind it out.
To answer Cody put a question up there. If I ever got to play with Tony, no, I didn't. I'll tell you, Tony, I go back to those days of the green and gold. Back when I played with Don Marshall. He was my partner for the longest time, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we would come up, we'd make a weekend of it. We'd go stop at Wolf Creek and play golf, and then we would move on and play the tournament. And it was just great. It was this nice bonding time. Don and I did a lot of things like that, and it was just great memories. But I just, cocky young guy again, attitude, thought I knew everything, and coming out of YBC, and yeah, Cody, your dad used to put me in my place a little bit here and there. So yeah, it was, and temper. There you go. You want a temper? Holy cow!
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did play to answer. I'll answer that for you, Cody. Yes, I did play with Tony, and he was that intense that he says he is. I remember playing in Airdrie for the Open Provincials, and we had a stellar team, and we all just kept ripping corners like no tomorrow. And Tony would just get more and more fired up every time that somebody would go. He was just he was nonstop intensity for 3 days bowling.
Love it.
What a blast.
Intensity is good. Harnessing it's good. Intensity is good too. Like, I mean, we love guys getting out there, and we love everyone getting fired up, and it's fun to see. It's fun to be part of too. It's just we also sometimes take it to another level, which becomes a little bit more of a detriment and distraction for other players. But yeah.
So wrapping up, couple of key memories for you, Smitty, for Open and Masters nationals for your career. What would be some key moments you remember, memories?
Well, I mean, obviously, 03 was a huge one for me. I mean, that one, and then I got to say that one, and then coming back, that's the big one, 03. But then coming back for the Open, coming back after taking some years off bowling, and then making the team with Tim and Dex going to Newfoundland, those were good times. I mean, the Masters for me are a little bit different because you don't necessarily like all the guys I play with are phenomenal bowlers, right? And I loved it. It was great. It's just different. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't seem like you've been in the trenches as much until you get to Masters, right? Whereas the Open, you're in the trenches for, you're qualifying with all the guys. You're in the trenches with them there. You're at the provincials in the trenches, battling it out, and then at nationals. So it's just different. That's all. And I say, these are hard teams to make, and these are hard teams to advance with. I've never had the opportunity really to play with my buddy Steve, and I'd like to do that. Cummings, and we haven't done that. We play a lot of doubles together, been successful that way, but I haven't had a chance to play with him much. So on a team aspect. So who knows? Maybe I'll continue to bowl, and we'll see if I can make another team.
There might be a spot open on the Bombers once I get pulled a couple more times. I'll stick to the sponsorship side of things.
Oh God! Well, Tim gave me the gears because I pre-bowled and he put me on the easiest set and I threw $138 and he gave me the gears and I said, Tim, what's wrong with that? And he goes, well, you threw $138. I said, yeah, but I hit the middle 9 times out of 10. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. He goes, well, that's just look at your score. I said, well, that's your problem, Tim. I said, look at the score.
He's not telling everybody he went 0 for 8 on spares.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
While we're still on the open conversation, then you flipped over onto the volunteer side a little bit later on. You helped manage the open for the Edmonton 5-pin as you're on the board of directors for a couple of years. That's kind of fun too, organizing it and making sure everybody's sticking together as a team. And that was something even you did in the early years of the open at Edmonton. You would always host team parties, right, and make sure that everybody's getting along and team functions, but talk about managing the open for the crew.
Yeah, that was fun because right from the get-go, you're just trying to get entries, right? Get people to come out, and then you get your team put together. And a big part of team is making you feel like you're part of the team, like you are. Like there's nobody on the outside looking in. Everybody is equal. There's nobody better than anybody else, right? You look at Bruce, you look at Lynn, you look at those guys. They were all leaders in this area. Because Bruce, as great of a player as Bruce was, he's probably one of the most likable people too, right? And he never ever made you feel like you were inferior to him. And so he was a leader, right? He wanted you to be part of the, he just built you up. And I think that's where I learned from Bruce on how to put a team together, right, and keep a team together. So I found that being a manager that's what I tried to do. I don't listen, guys. There's drama. We all know that, and drama sucks. As a manager, you never like to see it. And we always like to say, we can blame this, we can blame that. This person should have done this. That person should have done this. You're only as good as you are when you're there, but you got to look at yourself too and be accountable. If you're not playing well, you need to accept that you're not playing well. You can't put the blame on other people. So as a manager, I just tried to make sure that everybody's still trying to have fun, right? Got you what you needed, made sure that you were prepared. And just it was good. It was good. It was 2 years, and just try to get people to enter, try to get people to come out.
I think we held one of the best open provincials of all time. Open 15.
The Open 15.
The Open 15. Yeah.
What was that? What was that story there?
We're children. We're children, right? And when we were in junior high and stuff, the joke was always Pen 15.
10-15. Yeah.
Pen 15. It's penis. It's penis. So we called it the in 2015, it was the Pen 15. Because we're children.
Holy shit. Was I there? What was that?
Yeah, you were there. Yeah, that was the year that Edmonton lost and Minns lost in the last ball. There was in Sherwood Park.
Oh, that was right. Yes.
That was the year that we got Labatt's to...
we
Labatt's dude, and then you and I were out late one night picking up stuff from Freddie at the back door of Labatt's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that last ball, too. I remember losing, and Schultz lost. The guy banged out in the 10th frame. It was like, dude, we just made this most unbelievable epic comeback.
Yeah.
And then
it's hard to lose, right? And, nobody likes losing, but you'll always lose more than you'll ever win. Just remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you got to learn how to lose before you'll ever learn how to win.
Yeah.
Right. Where do you want to go next there, Smitty? Let's go to some KG Bowl, big fun tournament. Some of the cash, not WCVT at the time, but some of these tournaments that you would have played in. You made a deep run at the KG Open, so let's go there and tell us how that one was for you.
Yeah, that's that was the one year where I actually did something in the singles event, and KG had 2 shifts to qualify. I remember it. That's when they had the top. They took the top 48 because there was the scores were so high, right? So they took the top 48. So I made it into that, and then started going and played some good matches. Long day. You start at 8 in the morning, just like we do now, right? KG was, let's back it up for a second. KG everybody will talk about KG, the tournaments, and you guys never played KG, did you?
I unfortunately never got to. No.
That was my very first one.
What a great tournament! I mean, that is still probably my favorite. Still my favorite by far. I mean, everybody came together there. That's when you got guys from Winnipeg coming, right? Some people down in Ontario coming. Out west, everybody came. So it was if you really wanted to test how well you were playing, that was a good one for it. So yeah, I made a run there. Went to my toughest match. Actually, I'll never forget. It was playing Pam. Playing your sister, right? Like that's kind of what you felt like. I was playing Pam, and we were ugly. Like holy cow! Like when you got to win some ugly matches. I'm sure people watching that are thinking, how the hell did these guys even make it? But we all know you gotta win some ugly ones, and I did one ugly. I loved playing Tom Patterson because back then you're young. And you heard all about the Tom Patterson, like the bowling school, right? Tom Patterson, Tom TP, and you want to impress Tom because maybe you'll get invited as a pro to the bowling school. And so yeah, I ended up playing Tom that one. I beat Tom, so that was nice. And went up going and I get to the final. And I was playing Dale Strutt from Ontario, and Greg Peteritis was in his corner. There's a few people in his corner, of course, and I had my corner, and they were all in the stands drunk as a skunk and making long straws out of their drinking out of seeing how long of a straw they could get for their paralyzers from the bottom. I had Holdsworth. He was kind of my bench boss, we'll call him, and I mean he was snapped. And so, Cav is, right? And so, and there was a break. It didn't help, right? Because that was the last year we were on Shaw Television. So there was a break from the last game before the finals, where they had to get set up and all that. And then you bowl the finals. But Shaw Television's there. They got, you got to get everybody. It's all live. I got, Brian Goodhope and all those guys are upstairs in the bar, and they're betting on me. And I'm like, holy crap! Good thing I didn't know all this stuff. But afterwards, I felt like shit because I lost money for them. But anyway, played Dale Strutt. Fantastic time that was. And again, well-run event. Amazing. The Hunters did a great job running that event too, and Gary and that. So it was a lot of fun, but lost. That's okay. I mean, I lost. I look back at it and go, Jesus, too bad. Wish I had pulled that off, but I ended up losing. And then we had to drive home that night, Kevin and I, and that was bad.
So you had to drive home then?
Well, so I started. I did. Because they're wired, right? You're just fired up. You're wired. Kevin's passed out, and we stopped at 7-Eleven, grabbed some Slurpees and that, and off we go. And we're driving along, and I finally got to I was about 15, 20 minutes out on the road, and I just said, Kevin, you got to drive. Like, I'm going to put us in the ditch. And at that point, I fell asleep, and I woke up, and we were about 10 minutes out of Calgary. Like, I was done. Like, it was a long day. But what an event, right? I mean, they have their consolation. They put it in Eastview.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, guys, they that first game is a pot game, right? When you play Eastview, the first game was a pot game, so everyone puts in their $20 for the highest game. So you win. The guy that wins consolation over there, and they didn't fill a spot, right? They just win consolation. The guy that wins consolation over there finishes probably in the top 10, I think it is, in money, over the whole event. Because there was money involved. It was just the consolation was run just like the actual event. It was match play. It wasn't 3-game match play. It was just a 1-game match play, right? And they get money per match, right, for your win. So it's pretty good, right? If you win that first pot, right? Actually, I think there's 2 because there's an A side and a B side, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, if you win the first 2 pots or come close to them or whatever, you can make some good money over there on the consolation side. So, but if you didn't show up though either too, so it was all seated, right? So you had your next 32. If you didn't show up, you gotta buy. Like you actually, that guy doesn't show up, you just move on, right? So
I was in bad shape one year and didn't show up to the consolation. It's probably a good thing because it was a very late night. Because I think it probably was the year, Smitty, we would have had our hotel room. There would have been,
oh my gosh,
20 of us in that hotel room. Do you remember that big boardroom table? There's lots of people watching out there. The boardroom table at the KG Penthouse suite that we got. Oh my goodness.
Oh, did you
Doing
guys
the
ever
bowling-
hear this?
Doing the
Did you
bowling
ever hear the
impressions.
story? Oh yeah, I know. But did you ever hear the story when so Robert and Holdsworth, like the big thing back then, there was trash in rooms, right? We used to, you get somebody's room key, you pretend who they are, you get a room key. Well,
Yeah, Scott Barber.
yeah, you made sure that you were protective of your key. Well, Holdsworth and Shannis and I can't remember who else thought that they were going to be pretty tricky and go and trash Bruce and Lynn's room, right? So they end up thinking they got the key and everything. They go up there and they freaking just start ripping this place apart. And they're like, Robert, I think, goes, "Hey, did they bring a cooler?" Right? And Kevin's like, "I don't know, whatever." The freaking bed everywhere, just stuff. Like, huh? Why is this food in the fridge here? What's this all about? Right? Just keep going. I don't know, Kevin. Kevin's there, whatever. So, anyways, they finish, and then the shift's done, and they come back, and there's cops in the lobby of the KG, right? Cops in the lobby. There's a guy sitting on the stairs, going like, I don't know, like I'm not sure what happened. I went out. I came back and my room was just absolutely trashed. So they just trashed some random guy's room. They thought it was Lynn and Bruce's.
Yeah.
So
Steve was in on that too, I think.
was he? Holy Christ!
Yeah.
Like honestly, you guys, just so much fun. It
our
got
room
dodgy
was
though. That KG got dodgy. Eh? That one year where we had a room and I thought there was a chalk line on the floor. I really do in the car.
Well, the big boardroom table and the after parties we'd have there, and of course the guys would be sleeping on the couch. I remember Gino trying to sleep on the cot, and he made the cut and has to play on the Sunday, and he's trying to sleep on the no. But Gino, go into the room. No. This is my bed. I got to stay in my same bed.
Gino,
and we're just
Gino
as
sleep
loud
anywhere.
as could be playing cards. Oh yeah,
Gino would sleep anywhere.
the curlers or something. And Bruce and I walking around the room and. We're down and meeting the curlers and no shirts on, and just like, what is going on? Those are the years, buddy.
I think I won the chicken. Yeah, Green Sizes put up the chicken bowl. I won the chicken bowl. I think the turkey bowl that one year did really well, and it was funny because I needed to spare a corner, and
What's
I'm like,
chicken bowl?
Oh, it was a turkey bowl, frozen turkey bowl. So on the lanes, they put down some poly, right? Poly down on the lanes all the way down, and then they had some pins like just probably halfway down the lane. They had pins set up like normal, and then they got the boards on the back, right? And you're freaking bowling a frozen turkey. Well, it's great. You're bowling this frozen turkey. I think the entry fee was pretty high, right? I mean, you won some good money. Like I got like $300 or $400 or something like that. It was crazy. But anyway, I remember having a spare. I needed a spare to win, and I got there and I left the corner pin. I'm like, okay. So I get the turkey, and I get this turkey, and he's kind of thawed a little bit now. So he's kind of got a wing, right? He's got a wing sitting here, right? And I let this thing go, and it's doing down the lane, and thank God he was doing this because the wing is what clipped the corner pin so that I could actually win. But yeah, holy Christ, the frozen turkey bowl. Yeah, that was good times. Yeah,
I heard a story about this turkey bowl. Didn't somebody cut their hand on the inside of the turkey?
Yeah, Holdsworth, I think it was, because he's being a jerk, right? And he stuck his whole hand. Maybe it's Tom, maybe Mark. It was either Tom, Mark, or Kevin. One of the three, I think. And they threw their hands in the whole freaking turkey like this, right? Yeah, good times. Yeah, good times.
Oh, Pizzy?
Pizzy.
Blair?
I believe that.
Oh, was it Pizzy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah.
It just goes in and just jams it out. Oh my.
Oh my god, that's so disgusting. You look at it like
can we do some like watermelon bowling or like melons or some sort of that?
Too messy. No, you want chicken parts flying everywhere. You don't want.
You want salmonella laying in there.
We actually thought about bringing it back for something, and then they're like, "Well, what happens if it all gets dirty?" I was like, "Well, that's why I got pin chasers to clean up. That's not a me problem."
Oh yeah.
Maybe we need to take it outside and do it in the parking lot or something.
Yeah, we can probably do it in the back. Behind the 16 right there.
In the alley for sure.
Yeah, we can do it down the alley on Sunday night. We film that instead of the final.
Oh yeah, on the other
Top
side.
4 move outside. Yeah.
But I think too the funniest thing about KG and a lot of these tournaments, guys, was not so much what was happening on the lanes; it was what was happening behind the lanes, right? Like with all the people that were, like everyone's pissed off. You get knocked out, you're pissed off, but then eventually you get over it, and then it's like, okay, how many bubble gum can you throw in your mouth? And next thing you know, you got, guys trying to see how many freaking pieces of the bubble gums out of the machine. They probably never sold out that gumball machine in their life, and the guy comes back the Monday and sees that it's completely empty. Because
there was a candy store we would go to though as well.
Oh yeah, like hot tamales and everything like that, right? Those were the
$7 suckers. That's where that started too.
Yeah.
Domestics.
Domestics. Yeah.
Hey, can I borrow $7? Yeah.
Oh,
KG
right,
by
though,
far
Sean.
was the turning
Well, it was
point, and the most fun that I've ever had in any tournament for those number of years we played that.
Well, it was a 4-day, like good for you guys on TPC, right? Like it was a 4-day event, but the 4 days were different. It was made up of, the invitational, it had 2 shifts of trios, right? It had, I don't know if it was, I think it was just 1 shift of doubles, and then your singles, right? So there was lots of different events, right, that kept people engaged, right, which was a lot of fun. So
yeah, exactly. Kind of during our time, Regina was kind of that for us. Like everybody had to travel to Regina, so I think it was the same thing as KG, right? Everybody has to travel there, so everybody hung out after. You're staying at the hotel and all that stuff. Where a lot of these Alberta tournaments, a lot of the guys, for us anyways, it's you're either working the event or you're helping out with the event and stuff like that. So you don't get that after hours stuff that typically went on. It's definitely toned down a lot.
I miss Scottsdale. Like, so here it's like super nice out, Labor Day weekend, whatever. We all went out there when we were like piss poor, young kids, going out to this tournament, and like we would spend every dime that we had. And here's Sean John, who's like, he is bold, he's done, he's spent all his money, and all he wants to do now is drink, but he's got no money, so he was doing stupid shit to get beer.
The shopping cart.
To the point, we would load him up into a shopping cart, and run it down the back alley and run it into a curb so that he would go launching out into a pile of bushes so that he could do it for 2 beers. And he did it multiple times.
He did. I remember. Yeah.
But all kidding aside, you guys have done all the events, right? Like right from the Autumn Open, how Mark's taken that. It's nice to see the younger bowlers that have taken this on. TPC, like when Rose Bowl was done with it at Bonnie Doon, I mean, I went to John over at Collingwood and said, we can't let this thing die. Like, let's figure this out. So John and I sat down and figured out a way to resurrect the TPC, right? To bring on couldn't call it the Rose Bowl. I wanted to call it something different. So I called it the TPC. And John was fantastic at Collingwood because no lineage, right? To get it going, right? He was willing to do things just like you guys have done to, let the bowlers come out and enjoy themselves again and not have to know that it's worth it to make the trip, right? Yeah. That's the big thing, right? You have to, because it got to the point where it's a business, guys. You guys are running business, okay? It's a bowling alley, it's a business. And you're catering when these tournaments, you're catering to about 2% of the population with these tournaments, right? Like that's of the bowling population, right? So it's very small. Yeah. So like, your revenues in a day-to-day, come, I don't know what the breakdown is, open play to leagues, to tournaments and all that, but I got it. I'm thinking open play is still where a lot of your revenue comes from, right? And then your leagues, your sustaining revenue. So, everyone has to understand you're still a business. So when you have a weekend and you're not really taking any lineage just so that the bowlers can have a great weekend, enjoy it, and make it, my hat's off to you. And I think that's amazing to actually cater to the small, to keep the sport going, right? So I thank you for keeping the TPC that I was so lucky to get rolling with John over at Collingwood going. So and you guys have taken it to that next level, which has been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So some of those early years of the TPC when it transferred over, Sean, obviously super proud moments, and you see that it's getting some success. Some of those great bowlers. You remember any of the key moments those guys had early on there, TPC?
Well, I think Pizzy, Blair, that was Blair, obviously a very, very good friend of mine. I was his best man, and I just Blair's awesome, right? So probably the most positive guy again.
I think Scott Barber won the first one.
Scotty won, yeah. Pizzy, Barber.
Gino.
I think Bruce
Jackson.
won it once.
Gino
Jackson
won
won it once.
yeah.
Gino won a couple times, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's.
I think Bruce run both sides on one of them?
Run both sides.
Bruce did win the both sides. You're right. Yeah, Bruce was, and he did that in KG. I don't know how many guys have actually run both sides in tournaments.
Brad Mullins.
Brad Mullins has done it.
Has he done it? Okay.
Was
yeah,
it
so
Vic Klaus, whatever, Vic from Regina? Yeah.
Kozlowicz.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, anyways, the key PC was very good. I mean, it's, but you guys, like I said, you took it to that next level, which is great. Love to see it. So.
And Johnny won the last year of the TPC. Obviously, Dexter won it at Collingwood.
Yeah, all the slow throwers, right? I'm kidding.
I let Johnny win that year.
Oh yeah, did he beat you in the final, Kerry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I beat Johnny in the
Yeah,
final.
so that to me, again, I got to say that that was cool to see you guys taking it on and the guys and just the success that they're having and all the tournaments. Like I just think it's great. So it's awesome. Keep it going.
Let's go to the strive for perfection. You're a 5-pin bowler, a 10-pin bowler, or a golfer. Perfect game, a hole-in-one. Match up those experiences for you to do the crowning moment, I guess, if you will, of the sports.
Well, I think I said I always said that if I ever throw a perfect game, I'm going to quit the game because I beat it. And that particular day of my perfect game, I actually ended up throwing about $140 the game before on lane 48 at Bonnie Doon, and I was so mad. I was get bad temper, bad place in my life, but banked one off the wall onto the lane, and I think Lynn Howell was going to suspend me there. So right then and there, he was pretty mad. So from the league, but one of my defining moments for sure. But anyway, the next game come out and throw 12 unbelievable shots and throw that perfect game, which was awesome. So I think I did quit after that year for a bit. But anyway, I threw that perfect game, and then and then to have again to have a hole in one. I've had two of them, so to have 2 hole-in-ones and then have a perfect game. Now I need to throw a perfect game in 10-pin, which I don't know, you guys. 10-pin is pretty cool. I like 10-pin. 10-pin is definitely a more technical game than 5-pin by far. It's fun. It's kind of everyone loves the crashing of the pins. You can get away with making a bad shot in 10-pin and still get a strike, right? But in 5-pin you can't do that. You make a bad shot, you're not going to strike, right? But you can get away with that in 10-pin. I mean, my best I've averaged my best average in 10-pin I think is 208, 205. So and that's only not playing very much either, right? I mean, they bug me all the time when I come down there. Oh, a 5-pinner, right? Yeah, you can tell I'm a 5-pinner, but yeah. Because I don't throw a whole bunch of strikes and I throw it from the right ditch, and I got my own ball, so it's all weighted. So there's a lot of cheating thing but it's all about finding the line in 10-pin, right? Yeah. But it's also about running strikes in 10-pin. That's the big thing, finding the line and running strikes. But if you can make spares, and we're way better spare bowlers than 10-pinners. There's no question about that, right? So
yeah. So remember, you used to tell me all the time it was a Meatloaf quote. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So it's pretty nice. You throw a perfect game, you have a couple hole-in-ones, and if I could throw a 10-pin perfect game, that would be the piece de resistance. But I think Blair, I think there's a couple other people. Pizzy is one of the few people that have played TSN 5-pin and 10-pin on the TSN pins game.
Oh,
so yeah, I think he's one of the few. I think there might be somebody else, but I think Blair's.
Didn't Stevenson make a show for 10-pin?
Jeez, that's a good question.
Tournaments. Yeah.
Did he
do
a
that?
perfect game in 10-pin, but I don't think he ever was.
Did he throw a perfect game in 10-pin?
Yeah. Never in 5-pin, but yes in 10-pin.
Marty Lupa has a perfect game in 10-pin. So really, is it really that hard, guys? I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, Yeah, perfection. You bet. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, good times. Good
So,
times.
so Sean, when you came back to the Bonnie Doon League, is that when I threw the perfect game against you and that you quit again after that, or?
Yeah, I can't handle that. I can't handle that.
He's getting mad all over again.
You just anger. You fueled my anger again. No, but it was cool to watch. Yeah. Now you don't. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, CBC. There you go, Steve. Steve knows. Steve's like the Don Sim of the East, right?
Yep.
Right. So it's great.
Yeah, he fills us in with information that we're missing for sure.
Yeah. No, and again, accomplishment in 5-pin throwing a perfect game is just, I think, is incredible. I mean, you've had 3 now, Kerry, right?
Yeah.
Dexter, you've had. Oh yeah, you haven't had any. That's right. Tim, no, that's right. Daryl, no. Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of a neat club to be part of.
It is a neat
fairness,
club.
though, Sean, like I'm still quite a bit younger than you. I've got time.
You'll do it. I mean, there's no question. There's no question you guys are going to do it. It's just
There's going to be 3 more at Sherwood Park this year, so yeah.
Daryl's banking
One
on
more.
it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat to. It's pretty neat to be part of.
Let's go to a little bit of a rant section here, Sean. I know you've probably got some things on your mind that you're happy to share with everybody, but you take us in the direction here for 10 minutes on some of the things that you want to run a rant
Well,
about.
Air your grievances.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any grievances, guys. No, I just, as I've said to you before. I mean, I've talked about this lots. I mean, the slow play thing. I for the life of me, I don't understand what people are thinking about when they're standing up there, for crying out loud. Your preparation should be done before you get up on that lane. I mean, yeah, you got to get up, you got to get set, and then you go. But like, for crying out loud, like, I know Gino used to have either a right or left testicle problem or something, and so he would do that. I mean, Weber, I'm not sure what Weber was doing a lot of times too. I mean, but he reset the pins about. I mean, shit, you guys. Your cycles, how many cycles do you do? Like, when the pins cycle every time, that's got to cost you a lot of money. So he probably cost you about $15 there with those cycles on his last ball for the 10 for his perfect game. But that slow play thing is honestly, that comes from not being ready. Right? When it's your turn, it's not your turn, right? Like, you got to be ready. Like, one thing about Len, right? Everyone thinks Len's fast or whatever. Len doesn't pay attention. When he's playing you match play, he's down. He could be bowling on 1 and 2. He'll be down on 15, 16, seeing what's happening. But he's ready to play when he walks up. Like, he knows when it's time to get up, right? And throw. Mm-hmm. Half the problem is you've got guys that are walking all over the place, and it's their turn to get up there. And it used to be a tactic a lot of times, right? Back in a day, guys would do it on purpose, right, to throw other people off. And
Phil
that's
Robertson.
Yeah, Phil and Kenny.
There were some slower guys. You mean, you think about Rossetti or Ken Norris or some of these guys that they were deliberate. A lot lower, I think, than they were now.
Very deliberate, right? Yeah, and it is. It's the game. We want the game to be entertaining, right? We want people. We want people to watch our sport. That's what we want, right? We want people to enjoy our sport. But when you get guys that are taking, how many seconds, minute to throw a ball, like, or you throw the first ball and you punch, right? And now you're waiting for your, you got another house, you're waiting for your ball to come back because you only have one ball on the rack. Like, grab a house ball and let's go, right? Let's move it, right? Like, Glenn and I talked about a little bit at TPC. He doesn't care about wood. If he punches, he's just like, okay, getting up there and doing the best he can to grab it, but he's just whatever happens. But it's the first ball and maybe your second on a spare or something, but you should never be taking the time that you take on the lane. If we want our sport to truly evolve and get television coverage of some sort, you got to make it exciting, right? You can't be standing up there and waiting for balls all the time and resetting the pins 7 times. I think in 10 pin you get what?
2 re-racks.
Two re-racks, right? But from the time that you, and again, guys, I'm not saying time clocks. We all know what happened at KG with time clocks. But, I think Jackson probably demolished about 6 of them. But, the point is that with, they are given a time limit to, by the time it is their turn, they have a certain amount of time to deliver that ball. I'm not saying that's what you do, right? I'm not saying that at all. I think it's got to be policed within the bowlers, right? Because I think you can't have, because then what happens is if you have the committee try to enforce it, right? That's not the best way either, because we all know that there's certain players that are slower. I think it just becomes a courtesy. I think those people that are slow know they're slow, and they just need to understand that you got to start respecting some of the other players as well, right? Other bowlers and times, right? That's why I'm not a huge fan, guys. And I did this when I started the TPC. I'm not a fan of running 2 players for match play. Okay, I know you don't have the lanes, but I know it takes a little longer, but it's not match play. You can't put the pressure on.
It actually takes less time, Sean.
Okay. So there you go.
But to Sean's point, it's not match play.
It's not play. You've just played. Yeah. You've just played how many games to qualify to play match play?
In some cases, 32.
Yeah, that's right. In some cases, 32. There.
But you're right. It's not a legit match play, but it saves 2 hours.
Okay, it does. Right? That's fair. Fair enough, right?
So
but what I'm saying is,
I agree, because I talked about it last podcast. Was I had troubles keeping a pace with the 2 other guys that were playing, and I wasn't bowling with them, right? So I do understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, I just so that's I don't have a lot of rants, guys. I mean, but I got to tell you, like, the slow play has always been a bone of contention for sure.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, but Sean, you're saying there's a difference between slow play and not being there and playing, right?
Yeah.
Like Adam Weber, yes, he may take a longer time on the approach, but he's ready when it's his turn, and he's throwing one ball. Usually, like, he's averaging a lot higher, so his time on lane is probably a lot less than a lot of the players that are up there.
Yep.
And throwing 3 balls, not playing very well, talking with their friends, showing up when, oh, hey, it's my turn. Like, there's a difference. How do you police a slow play when you have situations like that? And like you said, I think that's got to be up to the bowlers to be like, hey, pay attention. It's your turn. If you're not at this set, like, if it constantly happens, then maybe there is penalties to be issued. But yeah, the bowler's got to judge that. I don't think a judge of play can enforce, like, the Gino Zebart, the Adam Weber, who's ready, who's playing. Oh, they're taking 45 seconds. Yeah, but that guy's been missing for half a minute. He finally gets there and he's throwing 3 balls. He's taking a minute and a half to play the same frame that Adam Weber took 45 seconds at.
Hey, 100%, Kerry. I totally agree with you. I think the other thing, like, if you're playing, like, you guys, your 8-game qualifying shift, was it the morning one there? I mean, like,
6 hours.
And it wasn't full though.
It was full.
Or was it completely full?
On the Friday morning.
Friday
why
morning
was that one long?
There was nothing, it was just slow play. We had no lane errors, nothing going on.
Yeah.
It was just
so the question is why, right? But then you got to look at common denominators. So you start to look and go, well, why is this lane always finishing last? And I'm not saying it's one player or whatever. It could be anybody, right? But you got to start asking yourself.
Do you remember, Tate, let's talk about slow play. Let's air our grievances. I remember when you were manager and we talked about slow play.
Was this not the OPEN 15?
No, it was OPEN 16.
Nice.
Qualifying at St. Albert. And you were completely right. You told Ernie, hey, you know what? If there's slow play, there's slow play, right? And we all had the discussion ahead of time. And who got the warning? Because I was on Adam Weber's lane. This guy. He walked up and he was like, I was like, I can only go so fast as this little fucker over here, right? But I got the warning, right? And you know what the sad part was? The 3 of us on that set shot over 1,000 for 3, and we still were slow.
It's funny that you like that we talk about this or whatever, but Tim has become notoriously one of the slower players on tour.
Yeah.
So slow. He's got to get like 8,000 leg wiggles in first.
And hand wipes.
It's working.
He's
but
oh, I'm not saying that, but he's moving all the energy from his elbows to his legs.
So you know what's funny, guys, is here I am telling you, right? I'm saying, the slow play, right? But we're talking about the guys that are slow. I'm not. Let's call it slow, but maybe call it deliberate. They're maybe not so much slow. They're just a lot more deliberate.
Yeah.
And listen, if you're on a 7-bagger, right, 8-bagger, whatever, right, 4-bagger, I don't care, whatever, right? You start taking a little bit more time, right? Yeah. For some reason, you just do.
Yeah.
Your
routine
it just happens, right? And I guess when I say slow play, I'm talking about the fact that if you notice there are 1 or 2 lanes every game finishing last, right? You got to start looking at that. You really do.
To be honest with you, I'm not going to say, but sometimes when we do the lane draw at TPC, we see 3 slow players on a lane, we might move one, right?
Why wouldn't you? I totally agree with you. And you know what? Those are things that you would do to run the tournament like that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that's part of the reason why Friday did go long is we didn't do that. We didn't have time. I literally used a randomizer and was like, there's the 64 names.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Go
like, Ken Norris, I mean, everyone always complained about Ken, but he's deliberate, right?
Yeah.
It was the same every time. Like, the thing about Ken is it didn't matter whether he was going for a strike, a spare, wood. It didn't matter. It was the same every time. Rossetti, right? Same every time. But it does disrupt the flow. You think about teams, right? You talk about a team.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, guys, like you all of a sudden, you've got a slow player on your team. If I'm coaching, I'm like, okay, I don't care if you think you should be anchor or you're not. I'm going to do what I got to do so that I don't disrupt the flow of the team, right? Because you can't all of a sudden have bang bang and then freaking snooze fest and then bang bang, right? Like it's not cool, right? It just yeah.
So here, I'll put a challenge out to you, Sean. You both Thursdays with us. You tell us which one's a slow lane. And you know what? It's not going to be my team.
Listen, those people
or other ones because you're playing 3 balls a frame, and I'm fast because we only throw 1 or 2.
You're comparing yourself to a 150 and 130 average and 100 average bowlers on that league, for crying out loud. So they're throwing 3, yeah. They're throwing 3 in the time it takes you to throw 1. Yes, I know.
And the slowest team isn't one of those teams.
It's Johnny's team.
The slowest team
or Schultz's
has some
team.
pretty solid bowlers in it.
Allison's team too, she even said. But the ladies
I
are just
know.
yeah.
Hey, Allison, we're playing you this week on Thursday, so let's be done on time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Lenny kind of brings up a funny thing. That was kind of one of the things always at the tour.
Yeah.
The last lane, all of a sudden, all those people go out for a smoke. Thank God, smoking's dinosaur.
Yeah.
You don't get that anymore.
He's so right. He's so right.
More smoke breaks.
It's but like I say, guys, I mean, it's great to be back and watching some bowling. Steve dragged me out of retirement, I guess you could call it, but he kind of cohorts me to go. He's like, hey, come out and bowl on Thursdays. I said, oh, okay. I said, do I have to bowl every night? He says, no. He says, like, maybe once every 3 weeks. He says, come play with my boys and me. I said, sure, that sounds great. And 2 weeks in, yeah, guess what? What? You're full time. Oh, what? What? Yeah, I'm like, okay, all right. So no, it's been good. It's good. I miss the people. I got to know so many people. This sport, if anything, has given us so many friendships, right, over the whole country, right? I mean, one of my best friends is Kim McInnes, right, in BC. I mean, she's amazing and love her and miss her too. I get to talk
just
to her
had a birthday.
Yeah, but she's amazing, right? So, yeah. Anyways, it's pretty cool. But right across the country, got so many friendships, and that'll never be replaced. And I think that's why we do what we do. And it's just making sure that we continue to bring people out, and don't forget and never forget those that have played the game either. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. Try to never forget those that have played the game, because it's really important. So that's what keeps it going. So.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I think that's been one of the good things about these podcasts is like it's a number 118, and we get new people every week that bring up names that not necessarily we've already talked about or we've talked about, and we get to hear different stories about them and stuff like that. Like it's definitely opened my eyes. Like I get a lot of the stories through Gino, just growing up around him and stuff like that. And Sean, you were kind of speaking, who's the one that introduced you to these events and stuff like that? It was Gino was the one in my life that introduced me and brought me up through the cash events and stuff like that. But now hearing stories from yourself or our other guests about the same people that Gino used to talk about, but it's a little bit different side that Gino didn't even know about them or stuff like that. It's amazing.
It's
yeah, and you're going to have guys talking about you guys, right, over the years. And so, you know, it's really neat. It really is. It's just
I
nice
feel
to
sorry for those people in the future.
Well, I do remember playing Masters with you, and I think I was horrible, and you were okay. So you did okay.
It was funny. Dexter brought up that story. Is like, yeah, Sean, you weren't that great at nationals, but I never knew. It was kind of the same thing for me. Apparently, you weren't that good, and we still had a shot at gold in our last match. And I didn't realize how difficult you were playing and stuff like that. But that's just rings that you're one of those team players that you're in the pit the whole time. I know it's Masters, you don't get to go hide in the back and stuff like that, but you're there with the team the whole time cheering us on, even though you're struggling out there. And in Hamilton, right? A big 48 lane center, like you could be over. If it was the Open, you'd be go watching singles while you're sitting on the bench. Unfortunately, you didn't get that chance, but.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Like I said, I got the opportunity to play with all you guys, and I appreciate having me on the podcast for sure. So,
of course,
well, we're not going to let you go too easy. Sorry, Kerry. Smitty, obviously, you know, happy to listen to your advice to us as 5PNU, and how do we get the word out there to more bowlers from a digital marketing or from an advertising. You know, you're a professional in this space. Any recommendations you'd have to us, give us some free advice here on how to get the word out there about 5PNU and the cool things that we're doing here.
Well, I mean, geez, you guys, I got to tell you, like, forget about me being a marketing person. I mean, you guys are doing a great job for yourselves. Like, you're making it cool. Let's just say that, right? You're making the game cool again. You know, whether it's up to date with the cool hats that the 5PUs, like, just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're branding it as a cool sport, and you're getting a lot of the young kids wanting to wear that. I mean, geez, like I told you, as the Alberta Winter Games, I was embarrassed that I was a bowler, right? I mean, like, that's not the cool thing, guys, when you got hockey teams and downhill skiing and stuff like that. That's not the cool thing, but you guys are the ones making bowling cool again. And from a marketing standpoint, again, I think you just got to be careful. If you have spectators watching the game, you're as a fan of bowling, I sometimes find it painful to watch.
Yeah. Right,
I really do. And so the things about the slow play, things about when people get excited, it's good to see emotion. That's what people like, right? That it's not for everybody. I understand that, right? But you get you have a Jeff Bourne or a Scotty Barber or somebody who's getting excited like that. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, well, how about that strike video, right? The one that was shared on Facebook a while, right? That one was done by Tom for the bowling school. Yeah. That's cool. When you watch that, does that not make you want to go play the game?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's cool, right? And that's the marketing side, right? That's showing that kind of emotion, right? Michaela, look at how excited she gets. I mean, she's 14, 15?
Just turned 15.
Yeah. She does it, and it's cool. Kevin Holdsworth does it. He's just old, right? Love you, Kev. Right? So, podcast. You gotta get some more ladies on the board here.
But here's the thing: we talk about attitudes, right? And I know, obviously, you don't want to see somebody hit stuff or whatever. But I well, you was over the shield. That's the difference. But
okay, let's talk about that.
But let's hold up.
Grievances.
Over the shield does not distract. hitting the shield distracts.
Yeah.
You were the best at chucking it over there.
It was pretty smooth over the shield, yeah.
Yeah.
Smooth.
We used to have
Well,
competitions.
it's smooth. It's
You
smooth
play a
when it's
whole
soft
game.
wood. Yeah.
Bonnie,
Well, we used to have competitions how far we could throw it to the pins, right? So there was times, I mean, shit, we'd knock out the masking unit and take out the lights, but we would Mike Tweedy, myself, Holdsy, right over. We'd have some pretty lift. We'd call them lift contests, right? So you could put the most lift on it, but it wasn't we'd throw it out as an, like you're strong enough, Gary. You play ball, right? You can. I'm not sure about Tim, but you can. You can throw it far enough on a line, right? You don't want the big.
No.
Those are the ones that you don't want. You don't want you don't get the arc. You don't want the arc. You want less arc, right? More distance. So that's how you win. Okay,
So-
anyways, go ahead.
So anyway, so I'm not opposed to if you see somebody watching the live stream and somebody losing their shit. I mean that attracts viewers, does it not?
No, you don't. No, not losing your not.
Yeah, if somebody's absolutely mangling a ball return, you're gonna get that share 8 million times, right? You know that's gonna happen.
5-pin U League this weekend, bud.
Oh my god.
Someone's just gonna launch a chair.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth it. Like going Bobby Knight tossing a chair, something like that. I think honestly, it'd be crazy. You bring 5-pin universe back.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I said, you guys are doing a good job. I like from a marketing side, you got to remember again, who are you trying to attract? You're talking to 2% of the population of bowling, right? That's really who you're trying to attract for these tournaments, right? You got to figure out what you're marketing, what silo you're trying to go down. If you're going to, we need open play bowlers, if we need YBC bowlers, if we need league bowlers, right? Get over here, Jeff. So there you go, right? Like you got to figure out which silo you want to actually go down for your marketing, because I think you guys have got it right. But again, are you doing it from a business? Are you doing it from the sport? Are you doing it what do you want to do? But for 5-pin U, you're on the right track, 100%. I mean, and the more you're doing with the videos and stuff like that, and giving more people access that can't actually be at the event, I think is great. It is. It really is. Now, listen, I can sit there and I can watch it on TV and I have no problems watching bowling, right? But I mean, my wife sits there and she's like, "What are you doing? You're killing me, right?
What is this?
You're gonna, give me a spoon. I want to stab my eye."
But that's something that'll take time, and by creating personalities or creating team affiliations or creating these different, things, people will build over time. Right.
But Daryl,
so the average Joe can watch it.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at our provincials, provincial open, that's exciting. Okay, that's exciting. I mean, even Tara got excited when she got to watch, because she's an athlete, right? She's played high level volleyball, high level fastball, so she gets it. So you get people that are competitive in sport. Doesn't matter what sport you play. When you see that kind of enthusiasm and that kind of drive that these people are having out on the lane, right? Yeah, it's bowling, but who gets excited like that other than bowlers, right? That's the cool part. And if you can harness that and show that somehow, and that's where it should be showcased. Like the open provincials and open nationals, that's the stuff that needs to be somehow showcased. And it's hard because it's television, right? But there's got to be a way. Well, you guys are doing it. You're doing it through YouTube. You're doing it through YouTube.
Yeah, we've got live stream as good as it gets.
That's the way to do it, right?
For live streaming.
And then we get it on a betting app, and then everyone watches.
That's right.
Well, we all know we're gamblers, right? So, that's right. We don't
condone gambling.
No, we're talking about legal gambling.
Yeah, this is
allowed.
legal.
5-pin U supports legal gambling.
Yeah, just not the illegal kind.
There's lots of that sporting app stuff coming out. Obviously, Alberta passed a couple things here lately for single sport betting and stuff like that. You never know. Those are avenues that need to be searched, right? Yeah. We just can't say, "Oh, I wish somebody would do that." That was the same thing with the tour. Oh, I wish somebody would create a tour. I wish somebody would do a point system. I wish, till somebody takes the reins and actually does it, right? Yeah. You can say anything you want, but if somebody doesn't do it, it's just hoofla.
Yeah, the only reason people don't do it is they're afraid to fail. So never be afraid to fail. Try something.
Podcast.
There you go.
I told these guys at the first episode this could be only one time thing, but it turned out to be 118.
Mark, we already done that.
Yeah.
What?
There is, but only a small portion of it. But maybe on a macro, bigger level, you could do that, right?
You know, let's all understand. We don't want. Let's do some legal gambling. Legal gambling.
Thank you.
But anyways, you know, the reach, though, I think ultimately we want to reach more than just the tournament players. You know, the league bowlers, the YBC bowlers, the other people. Are you subscribing to the YouTube channel? Are you buying merch? Is there distributorship across the country? I mean, there's 25,000, whatever the number is, of weekly league bowlers. That's a big market, and there's only a fraction of people that are watching these live, and then people watching afterwards. So there is a big market. So that's what I was getting at, Smitty. If you got any,
that too, and Daryl, you got to, you know, the other thing too is that, you know, I think the bowling is got to figure themselves out. Like, you can't have all these different governing bodies, right? I mean, you've got, you know, that's a big problem too. I mean, you got to figure that out, and everybody wants a different piece of the pie, and you know, everyone's got to get onto the same page. So, you know, I think we're one of the only sports in the world that has how many different national championships, or did at one time have. You know, you have all these different national.
We had 3 national championships in 2019.
Yeah. So,
well,
you know, there was even more than that. But no, you're talking even more than that, though. Like, you got your high-low doubles and all that.
Right. I was just talking scratch, right? That was just scratch. Yeah. Could you imagine adding?
No, like there's a lot, right? There's a lot. So I mean, and you're trying to cater to all the different types of bowlers. Like, you know, how many bowlers actually average over 250? Right, very small percentage. Even over 200 for that matter, right? So.
It'd be cool to see, like, you know, Sunday morning 5PL, the Pro Team League, you know, getting up to 100 viewers on Sunday mornings, because people now, YBC or across the country, kids are waking up in the morning and they're watching streaming YouTube, which becomes completely second nature to them, and they're watching the 5PL. You know, that's the way to build the audience, I think, is through our Sunday.
But you got to tap into who are the ones that are going to get excited about that. Like, you know, the Michaelas of the world, right? In YBC. Right, you got to start. You go after the low-hanging fruit first.
Yeah.
If you can go after your low-hanging fruit first, right, and then build from there.
How many YBC bowlers? So start posting all across their stuff.
Absolutely, that's what you need to figure out, right? You got to figure that out. So. It's good.
Whoa, something just happened there on YouTube. Good time to wrap it up and go.
I fixed that.
Come in.
All right. So, yeah, we should wrap this up.
Yep.
Sean,
Thanks.
I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. It's been amazing. You, like you said, you're part of my first Masters rookie year. An amazing teammate, and the stories and stuff that we've talked about over the years, and the information you've shared, and the stuff I've bounced off of you. You've been nothing but a cauldron of information, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope I can be a positive influence on a few more people down the road. So, so don't beat me up too bad on the diamonds this year, okay? I'm getting old. I got to play the over 50s, I think, again this year.
Yeah.
Or this year.
We haven't seen you in a while. We haven't been able to play Rimby in a few years, so maybe soon again.
Our team's getting old.
You've been not quite done yet for a decade, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's right. NQD. Yeah.
NQD. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, but thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. We'll see you Thursday night. But it's been a pleasure. So.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sean. Always so good chatting with you, buddy.
Okay.
Thanks,
take
man.
care, guys. Appreciate it.
See ya. Awesome. Another great podcast. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap this up?
I just want to say our reach must be getting pretty far out there on YouTube.
Yeah, the moment we say we want to get out there, there's one way to do it.
YouTube is a scary space.
Wow.
Holy, that's a first for us. I don't know how many live streams that we have done at this point, but that's a first.
There's still one in the comments. I don't know if you can delete it. But.
Yeah, it'll be deleted. Nobody will see it, but yeah. Good old YouTube.
Smitty's awesome, though. You know what? Obviously, had played on a lot of teams with him, a lot of good times with him, a lot of shenanigans. So happy to have him on as a guest, absolute beauty, and like you said, not afraid to speak his mind and give us opinions and give us advice. So I've appreciated that 100% over the last number of years playing with him. So.
And I also be able to admit that when he was younger he had a bad attitude. But you know what, playing with him since I've been in the adults has been fantastic. And like I said, one of the absolute best teammates I ever had. Super positive, super supportive, amazing on a team.
So we used to call it the Smitty factor. Yeah, the Smitty factor is something that is absolutely real for sure.
Before we end this podcast, I just want to give a shout out to our BC peeps. We know things are rough out there with all the flooding and everything, so hopefully everybody's staying safe and get the high ground and let anybody know if you need help or what's going on. We'll try and do our best to get the information out there and keep you all safe and dry for the next a month before they get the Coca-Cola back up and running or whatever's
at least.
Insane.
Crazy.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.